Okay, so we're just going to think a little bit about what it actually feels like to be bereaved, and this is something you can do with children. It can sometimes be really helpful. Back in the olden days, as it were, people used to perhaps say that there were these clear stages of things that would happen when you bereave. So perhaps you spend a little while being sad and then angry, and you'd neatly pop out at the other end, and everything would be wonderful. And these days, we don't talk about it in that way so much now. Because it's just not like that. So I'm going to show you something that can be useful to do. This is a ball of grief here. It's made up of all different colours for all different feelings and what have you. And these pots are the same person. And so you might say to somebody who's been bereaved or to a child, when you first have somebody die, it's really, really hard, and you're really, really full of all this grief. It fills you all the way up. You're this pot, and it fills you all the way up to the top. And look, there's not much space left in there. It's taking over, your whole life. And adults can feel like this, of course, too. Okay, and then the idea being is that then, although we're going to progress along here, it's not because this ball is getting smaller. There's nothing more annoying if you've been bereaved than being told it'll all be okay, or this won't ever feel the way it feels right now. Things will change, but your love and care and thoughts about that person aren't going to suddenly magically disappear, and I expect nobody would want them to. What actually is more realistic is that actually life kind of carries on and things happen. So if you're with a child, you might say something like, you're going to grow a bit older and you might learn to play the guitar, or you might make some new friends, or you might get that puppy that you always wanted. So you've kind of grown a bit. But inside, your grief ball is still there. So look, it's not so stuffed in. It's got a bit more space. You've got a bit more space at the top here because you've kind of been growing and things have been happening in your life. And as time goes on a little bit more, maybe when you're an adult, you might grow up, you might get married, you might travel the world or pass your driving test or these sorts of things. You still carry on growing, meet new people, have new things happen. And the grief is still there. So your thoughts and what have you about the person are still there. But your life has kind of grown around that. You've had to make space for your life to be growing. So it's not so smothering, it's not so overcoming. But just because you're in this end one looking all nice and comfortable here doesn't necessarily mean it's a done deal and everyone's sort of happily ever after, as it were, because something might happen, like somebody might walk down the road one day, smell the aftershave of somebody who's died in their lives, and suddenly something can trigger you off and you can be shooting right back down at that moment. It might be a birthday or a Mother's Day or a Father's Day or something, and suddenly all of a sudden you're right back into your little pot for a while. But the idea being that once you've gone along gradually into your big pots, even if something shoots you back to your small pot, you should be able to get back to your bigger pot a little bit more easily. So that's sometimes just something, a little useful little thing that you might be able to use with children or use to explain how it feels to people maybe.